Ladies and gentlemen, Chibi Reviews is once again the topic of the town on Twitter when it comes to drama surrounding Lollipop Hill, as he's gotten into a debate and drama with Jidion and Schlep, who are both content creators, YouTubers, large creators who are basically predator catchers, whether it's real life or whether it comes through Roblox content. And Chibi Reviews does not like the idea that these two creators are going after Lollipop content. They think that if you enjoy Lollipop content, you know what I'm saying, right? Under 18 anime characters, right, doing some not safe for work things, they think that if you enjoy that kind of stuff, you are a creep. You are a freak. You are probably just as bad as the people they catch. Now, I understand there are some sides on both points, right? But when your messenger is Chibi Reviews, that's where I think people are probably going to say, wait a minute, let's pump the brakes. Let's get into it. And that's what we're going to do. And it all started with this tweet from Schlep. Lollipop is pedophilia. If you gratify yourself to sexualized images of animated children, you are a predator. The fact X allows a community of these people to thrive on here is very shocking. Do better at safety. And this is in response to Jidion, who says a lot of people in the Lolly community are adding me, but won't come on my stream to defend their point. I wonder why. And I ended up saying this because he posted a video talking about how he found a Twitter thread where a bunch of people were essentially calling Jidion out, saying how, like, yeah, he's a predator catcher, but like, why is he calling out Lollipop content? Why is he calling this out when one is clearly fiction and one is real, right?
Through the research of trying to gather different things and different threads of people talking about me, I found this really alarming thread on Twitter, basically defending Lolly and saying how I am putting Lolly people in a bad rep because I caught a guy that just so happened to have a bunch of Lolly and was also into cheese pizza.
Which then led to Chibi saying this. I just saw a 2 million follower account that is a pred catcher, in quotes. Just say Lolly equals pedophilia. You'd think someone that is a pred catcher would understand the difference between fiction and reality. The dangers of watering down terms and comparing real victims to drawings isn't good. It only shifts police resources to focus on a false call and stall them from investigating an actual criminal hurting people. Schlep should be ashamed of himself for comparing the two. If you find lollipops weird, by all means that is fine. However, comparing it to a real life breathing human that has been harmed is disrespectful. If we use Schlep and other people's logic, basically if you play GTA, that means you're a murderer. So let's just kind of debunk some of these things, just my opinions of course. First off, the danger of watering down terms and comparing real victims to drawings isn't good. I don't think anyone is doing this. Obviously there are real victims and there are also drawings of inappropriate content. Both things can coexist, right? By me saying, if you enjoy seeing naked anime children, you know, doing not safe for work things is inappropriate, that doesn't mean I'm like taking away from the fact that like Jeffrey Epstein's a monster or Diddy is a monster. I think that two things can coexist, and I don't think that neither Jidion or Schlep are trying to make this idea. It's just comes across as gaslighting by Chibi Reviews, where he puts out ideas that literally nobody is saying. Nobody is telling the police to stop focusing on real life children to focus on people, you know, beating it to anime children. But we are saying that the anime children aspect is completely disgusting. Now Chibi would double down and say, F it, I'm making a Lolly defense video today. Already been canceled, had hundreds of thousands of death threats and false accusations. I have nothing to lose and will not stop speaking up for freedom of expression within artwork. Bro just loves saying this, freedom of expression. Freedom of expression should not protect you and put you in like a bubble where if people call out what you're doing, you can just pull whatever card you want, you can buy Twitter likes, and you can send mobs of people to go and harass people, right? That's one thing Chibi never really ever mentions is like, this dude has an entire cult. Anytime someone will comment on one of his posts or comment about him, there's an entire cult of people who will come to defend him and then defend Lollipop stuff. They'll be like, oh, it's fiction, bro. It's fiction. You're just an idiot. You're so stupid. This is the same guy with countless videos defending Lollipop content, which is why it's weird that he's now saying like, I'm going to be making a lolly defense video. Like, what were the other 500 then? What the heck were those? Were they just like practice for the big deal coming out tonight? And then Schlep says, no wonder your fiance cheated on you. Chibi says, look, a piece of shit that had to bring in completely separate things because he can't counter what I said. How to avoid acknowledging what I said. Bro, nobody has to acknowledge you. Nobody has to counter what you say because it's stupid. This is like arguing with someone who tells you like, well, eating dogs is a good thing. Eating pets is a good thing. Like, there's probably an hour-long, 2-hour, 5-hour-long conversation you can have with someone, but it's just not an argument worth saying. You'll just say to someone, I don't agree with that. That's a stupid take. I would never eat my dog. The end. Not every little debate or thing is worth debating, especially when a majority of the world would just say, no, like that's not right, right? Looking at pictures of anime children or cartoon children in NSFW positions, the majority of the world would see and say, this is inappropriate, right? And the irony of this whole point about not wanting to have an actual conversation or whatever, Chibi Reviews was literally invited by none other than Jidion to have a discussion live on stream, to which Chibi Reviews says, I don't do streams. I'm antisocial and like sticking to myself when it comes to talking about stuff through videos. Sorry. No, you're not sorry. What you want is an internet community of like these cult people to back you up, to argue for you, right? As you can see, he had more likes than Jidion, which again is not real. This is not real. This is how Twitter works, right? Everyone is inside their own little bubbles, and that's why these like ratios exist, when in reality you can have like the exact same point with someone face to face and the person can concede, or the person might change their mind, or they just literally won't be able to back up their point because what they're saying doesn't mean anything when it doesn't come to, you know, Twitter likes, Twitter reposts. He doesn't want to have that conversation because Chibi would rather make his little videos to post to his cult followers that literally already agree with everything he has to say. So yes, it's completely fair for people to make fun of you for being cheated on by your girlfriend. Even going back to this whole GTA logic, right? Basically, if you play GTA, that means you're a murderer. These are video games that have narratives, they have stories, they have characters, they have themes, they have plots, right? I don't play as freaking Trevor and Franklin because I want to live out my fantasies of like murdering random people. That's not what we're playing the game for. Now, compare that to something like, of course, the lollipop content. When you are looking at this content, the reason why you enjoy it is because of how this person looks, right? If I'm sitting here playing a video game with freaking Chun-Li from Street Fighter and I think they're hot, it is because they resemble what in my brain looks like a human. If I see a anime character who is a woman with like large breasts, it is because in my brain, I am a man who likes large breasts. And this large breasted character happens to be firing off my neurons that sees a human with large breasts. It just happens to be like a cartoon version. That's exactly what normal people, almost 99% of society thinks when you see something like lollipop or lolly, you know, the con word. I don't want to say it because YouTube's kind of weird with that. You are looking at and enjoying and getting off to the fact that this character has the body, the face, the voice, the personality of a child, something that we in society can see. And that's where I'm going to wrap the video up, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I want to know your thoughts, okay? I do want to know what you guys think. Chibi Reviews is a doofus. He's digging himself a deeper hole, right? People felt kind of bad for him when his girlfriend cheated on him. He keeps trying to want to die on Lolly Hill for whatever reason. Peace out, guys.